Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you're having a good day. Today we are starting off at the Wither Skeleton farm that we are currently building here in this new nether fortress, and let me tell you, I'm very excited about this farm, not least because we had 6 wither skeletons spawn inside this space at the end of the last episode, and I managed to break open the glass and take care of a few of them. What I envision doing for this, because it's quite a large space, and because when I was standing here on this side, right up against the glass, the wither skeletons who had spawned on the other side of this couldn't see me. What I'm thinking about doing is maybe putting in a kind of balcony around the outside of the farm that we can just wander around and lure the wither skeletons out to one of the 4 sides. Kind of like the situation we have with the original wither skeleton farm, but just on a smaller scale and with 4 of those kind of killing stations for the wither skeletons, because everything else in here should by and large take care of itself. That is my hope. However, what is not going to take care of itself is the size of this nether fortress and the potential spawnable space for other mobs, which is going to kill the rates for this farm unless we do something about that. And today, oh boy, are we going to do something about that. I have a big plan for today's episode, and it broaches a topic that many people have asked me to discuss in the past, but one that I knew very little about until I started researching this video, because today, at long last, we are going to look into TNT Duplication. And that's going to be the reason why I'm still wearing my creeper head, even though this episode is technically going out after Halloween, and so I should have taken it off by now. However, I am recording this on the 31st, so if you spot any zombies or zombie pigmen or wither skeletons wearing pumpkins on their heads, that is because it's a Halloween Easter egg that only really comes around once a year. And it's a shame I didn't get to show that off in yesterday's video, but yesterday's video was recorded on the 30th. So anyway, I'm going to grab the materials required to make a TNT duplicator, which is actually really not all that complicated. It's just some very specific stuff that you need. We're going to be needing 6 slime blocks, a sticky piston, a lever, some TNT, a couple of solid building blocks. I'm going to use some polished andesite for that, I suppose. We will need a wall of some kind. I guess just cobblestone walls makes sense. We only really need 1 of those. I'll bring a few extras just in case. And from up here, we will need something very specific and something that is, I think, one of the only ways you can really duplicate TNT in the current version of Minecraft. We will need some coral fans. Luckily, coral fans are available in easy supply from any warm ocean. You can just bone meal the ground and harvest them using a silk touch tool, and you should be able to get those. The coral fan is going to die when we place it, but you will see dead coral fans in a lot of people's videos. That's how you get those anyway. Last of all, we are going to need a minecart, which I already have here in my inventory, and we are going to need a detector rail. And to demonstrate this, I'm going to fly out to the ocean because I really don't feel like messing with any stuff around here using TNT duplicators until I'm a little bit more familiar with these things. So here we are on an island, relatively isolated in the ocean, just in case anything does go wrong here, and I have restarted the day-night cycle because Halloween is pretty much over at this point, and you know what, yeah, I'm gonna make sure I am well protected against any TNT that we happen to duplicate here, just in case. So the key to starting a TNT duplicator is, of course, to start it a fair distance off the ground. So I'm going to build up some scaffolding and we can build this thing together. I am saying this mainly because obviously if you have TNT falling on a surface like this, the explosion radius might set off the TNT in your TNT duplicator. So that is something to be aware of, but we're going to build this out a couple of blocks here, and this is where we're going to make our start. So I'm going to go through the process of building a TNT duplicator first, and then I'm going to try my best to explain a little bit about how this works. But as with most things that involve glitches like this, it is a bit of a dark art. And as with many of these arcane redstone arts, this is not something that I already knew how to do, so I had to look up a tutorial for it. And the tutorial I found was by a player by the name of Diamond Doozer. I will link the video in the description. And I'm fairly certain Diamond Doozer is not the originator of this technique. In fact, I'm pretty sure TNT duplicators have been used in this game since time immemorial, and there are many storied histories with technical players as to who first discovered them and so forth, but this is the version we're going to be using today. So we're going to start off by placing an L shape of slime blocks like so. Those are the first 3 slime blocks we're going to be placing. We will need the coral fan on there, we will need the TNT there, and we will need the cobblestone wall to go there. As you can see, the coral fan has just died. That's totally fine. Let's take out the scaffolding blocks because we don't want to risk any of those updating the TNT when we do what we're about to do. Adjacent to this cobblestone wall, we want to make another L shape of slime blocks like so, and on top of that we are going to be placing a detector rail, and it's now that I realize I should have checked which direction I am facing, but luckily I am facing north. I did fly north to find this ocean, and so we need to place the detector rail so that it is facing this way, so that the track is running north-south. And if you face east or west and place it, sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. It is very inconsistent what updates the TNT and what doesn't. I mean, there may be some consistencies if you're familiar with building TNT duplicators, but personally, I am not. And in Diamond Doozer's tutorial, he said it is kind of important to make sure that you're facing north or south so that the rail orients itself this way, kind of parallel to the cobblestone wall here like that. Next, over here, we're going to be placing a sticky piston facing in towards this slime block. We're going to break that block away there, place the sticky piston here, and then we're going to add a lever to the side of this polished andesite block. And then we should have an active TNT duplicator once I've flicked that lever backwards and forwards. I am going to place a solid block up here that I can stand on because when the TNT falls, it is going to break all of this scaffolding. So now we flick the lever once. Oh wait, no, we need to place the minecart first. My bad. Let's place the minecart on there, and that is actually activating the detector rail underneath there, which you might expect to update the TNT with some redstone, but when we do this, it doesn't, and that is absolutely what we want it to do. Now, when we pull the lever again, perfect, okay, and you'll see that the coral fan looks like it breaks for a second there, but remains there, and that is the key to this whole contraption. Let me quickly remove this piece of scaffolding just to make sure the TNT doesn't fall onto that, and here we go. Yep, we have duplicated some TNT. We've done it. Fantastic. And let's see. Nope. Okay, good. The explosion radius didn't hit this piece of TNT here. So now we are looking at a contraption that every time the sticky piston pushes it that way, it duplicates a piece of primed TNT while leaving the original TNT block in position. And this is a TNT duplicator. And obviously I can do this basically as many times as I want, and each time you will see that coral fan emit particles like it has just broken, but it can do this for as many times as you can press the lever. Obviously the TNT can behave kind of unpredictably, and especially if you spam the lever like this, it can actually have the slime block kind of push the items around a little bit, push the TNT around as it's primed, and sometimes it can fling it out in some pretty wild directions. Or alternatively, if you have some primed TNT landing on the ground and exploding, it can push the other primed TNT entities in a variety of directions. So as always with these things, yep, you can see those landed in 3 very different places and then get pushed that way. It's very important to make sure that you know what you're doing and that you are prepared for complete destruction of whatever is below the duplicator. But as you can see, yeah, we have maybe a 15 block deep hole. I guess we did start with a bit of a hill here, but this hole is really not that deep, and that is kind of why we need TNT duplication in the first place, because doing this with regular TNT, while it might be a little bit more precise, it really doesn't blow up all that much, especially when you're looking at harder materials like stone. TNT is not all that effective, and so you'll find a lot of people resorting to TNT duplicators basically so they can produce holes like this without having to craft a ton of TNT. You'll also find that sand is not very easily renewable in Minecraft. Gunpowder is often difficult to come by. I guess you've got a creeper farm or a witch farm or something at this point, so that's not exactly the bottleneck, but you'll find people digging out entire deserts for sand that they can use for glass or sandstone or so many other things. So being able to duplicate TNT is actually kind of useful in circumstances where you don't just want to run your world ragged as far as deserts are concerned. And so now with night upon us and a few blocks over my head to stop phantoms from spawning because I still haven't slept after resetting the day-night cycle right here, I'm going to explain how this works to the best of my ability. But note that I am not really technically minded and I don't always know how these things work. So I'm trying my best to summarize what's happening here. We have a minecart sat on top of a detector rail, and that is powering the detector rail, which is powering the slime block below it. And that should, in theory, be powering the TNT. But the TNT has not yet received a block update thanks to the weird way Minecraft's update order works and the fact that we pushed this set of slime blocks with the detector rail in from the side over the top of the TNT. So what we have is a TNT block there that doesn't realize it's powered yet, which is a weird way of putting it, but it's a way that kind of makes sense. And what we have here with the coral fan is a block that when it is pushed using a slime block, it delivers a block update to the TNT because the coral fan kind of breaks but then replaces itself each time, which updates that block there. In much the same way that an observer would be able to detect a block update, that coral fan creates a block update for this TNT. However, because the TNT is being pushed by slime blocks itself at the time, some weird stuff happens in there, and for whatever reason, the TNT block stays there while producing a dropped lit TNT like that. But something about it being both a block and something that can become an entity at the same time means that the TNT gets duplicated. And I'm sure there are much better explanations of how this works out there. For a start, I expect Logical Geek Boy will have a video about this by now. But what that means for us is the ability to duplicate a fairly expensive and very destructive resource in order to do large-scale projects. And that is why you will find a lot of people using TNT duplicators to bomb out perimeters for things like witch farms, because you can pretty much guarantee you're going to destroy every block in the place if you have a whole fleet of these things. Not to mention the fact that we're using slime blocks here, and you could attach one of these to a flying machine very, very easily. With just another piston facing that way, a slime block there, and 2 observers, you would have something that would continuously move across the landscape, dropping TNT. And that is how we are going to get rid of the nether fortress around where we've built the Wither Skeleton farm. We are going to have a fleet of these things dropping TNT on all of the terrain in the nether. Nether fortress, nether rack, anything else that's around there, the TNT is going to take care of it. So here we are back in the nether, and we're going to have a go at making a TNT duplicator that's going to bomb out, I think, this section of the fortress to start off with. But of course, we do need to take a few precautions to make sure that this isn't going to be an absolute disaster for what we've already built of the Wither Skeleton farm. And for that, I brought myself a ton of obsidian, and I'm going to do my best to coat this farm in obsidian, which I'm going to regret later because I will have to take it all back down again, but I don't want this breaking any of the glass, any of the wither roses, any of the farm that I've already built, the minecarts, the minecart rails, all of that stuff. So I'm going to coat this entire thing in obsidian so that when the TNT duplicators eventually arrive to this area, or any stray TNT ends up flying over here, hopefully most of this should be impervious from harm, and we will have to make, at most, minimal repairs. That's what I'm talking about. Look at this guy. Look at this guy with his stylish new hat. Welcome to the party, sir. I think I will probably try and get a Wither Skeleton skull from one of these guys. Nope, looks like we didn't get one after all. I think we just got coal and bones from each of those. You're also looking at some of the other hazards of making a TNT duplicator here in the nether, and that's that at any time the blazes could fire at you and set the darn thing alight, which is why we need to be a little bit careful here and just make sure that we've taken out any blazes in the nearby area beforehand. But we're going to start at the end of here, which is a good distance away from the farm, so if anything does go wrong, hopefully the Wither Skeleton farm I'm building should not be in jeopardy. I'm actually going to start up here above the fortress because this section of netherrack here is also kind of in the way, and we could do with removing that. It'll be able to spawn zombie pigmen up here, and we want that gone. So as you can see, we have a pretty sizable amount of terrain that we will need to clear around here. We'll also eventually have to do something about my ice road that's going through this fortress, but if that gets a little bit damaged right now, oh well, we can make some more. It's not a big deal. So even though direction directions in the nether are a little bit difficult to discern. That way is north, that way is south, because that leads back to the nether hub. Yeah, I think we are pretty good to go. So I'm going to make myself our first little L shape of slime here. We need to have the TNT attached to this, and I figure I'll probably attach the TNT as late in the process as I can, just to make sure that I don't end up with blazes or ghasts fireballing me and losing all of my progress here. I also just realized two things. Firstly, that I was building the entire thing the wrong way around because it needs to be pushed that way, and so the orientation of these things is kind of important. The other thing I realized is that I didn't bring the minecart and the detector rail with me, so I had a quick trip back to the overworld to get those, but yes, we are ready to get started here. We're going to build our second L shape there. We're going to put the detector rail there and the minecart there. The detector rail is facing north-south, which is super good. And the function of the cobblestone wall here, by the way, is actually to stop the minecart from being pushed off of here, because that extra half a block height keeps the minecart in position. Otherwise, the slime block would simply push the minecart off the rail. We are going to be building this one as a flying machine, so I'll need a sticky piston attached to that block, a slime block there, and a sticky piston attached to this block, but that should be all good to go. And now we just need to place the observer blocks in over these two slime blocks there and there, which I guess I will put these andesite blocks in the way first, just so I can reach those. Observer facing down there, we can take that out, and then we can place the TNT in this spot here. Of course, we need to be pretty careful at this point, because anything that's going to blow up around us, or, yeah, get rid of the scaffolding like that, is potentially hazardous here in the nether, but that should be fine. Now, if we place this up here, then we need to make sure that we are ready for the flying machine to activate, and we need to take out all of the scaffolding here so it doesn't blow up the bottom of the flying machine as it leaves. Now we take out those two blocks, and we should just need to start the flying machine going. I think I will use an andesite block for that. We will need to push this sticky piston. Yes, there we go, and it's away. And this is going to get a little bit dangerous, so I'm going to fly away a little way and watch this thing move. Oh, is it going to get caught on the ceiling? I think it might get caught on the ceiling. Oh, okay. Well, that was not a bad start. Not a bad start. I've forgotten that I needed to clear away some bits of the ceiling here, so this thing has stalled temporarily, but looking at it, it should be possible to get it going again. Remember at this point that any block update to the TNT, whether one of the blocks gets broken next to it, or if you add a torch there, or if a blaze fireballs it or something like that, that is kind of game over for this whole setup. So we kind of need to make sure that that doesn't happen here. We also need to make sure there aren't going to be any slime blocks sticking to the surfaces of the ceiling, because that will of course mean that the machine can't go any further, because it's going to try and attach and push itself along with some of the blocks from the ceiling here. So I'll do my best to dig this out. But aside from that, once we reach the open cavern of the nether over here, we should be good to go, I think. In fact, looking at it, even though I've cleared out a decent space there, the ceiling does go on and on, so I think it might be better to just reproduce the TNT flying machine down here a little way, maybe move it down by 6 or 7 blocks, just so that we have decent clearance for the rest of this, and hopefully it wouldn't self-destruct at the end there where the nether fortress gets a little taller, but it's just not going to be able to work up that close to the ceiling, unfortunately. So yeah, bit of a rebuild in order here. All right, now we should just have to place the TNT in there and prime the machine. This is going to be pretty fun if we can get it to work, and I'm looking forward to at least seeing how it looks from a distance with this whole thing getting destroyed. Now, all I should need to do is hop up here and start the flying machine going with a single piece of netherrack like so. And there it goes. Okay, all right, this is going to be absolute destruction in a second here, so I'm going to fly out and take a look at this from a distance. Yeah! It's working! It's working so well. Oh, goodness. Yeah, this nether fortress is going to get absolutely destroyed if I have anything to do with it. Wow. I can barely even see the thing moving, I think. Oh, no, it has actually stopped. It's attached to one of the netherrack blocks. Oh, no. Well, just a little bit of repair needed. I have taken out the detector rail from underneath the minecart, because we are just going to have to rebuild a section of this, but it should just be a fairly simple process. Don't worry about losing that TNT. Not a big deal. We'll move that around here like so. We'll put another coral fan in. We'll put another block of TNT in there. All right, that's all rebuilt. The detector rail minecart is in place. We should just be able to set it going again. Yep, okay, we are live. Let's Let's watch this happen from a distance. And the ghast over there is probably wondering what on earth is happening. That's right, I'll deal with you as the fortress behind you gets absolutely destroyed. Oh, it looks like it's going great guns at this point. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. And you'll see, like I said, the TNT goes absolutely everywhere, but that's fine. We've got an infinite amount of it. And it looks like it's probably going to self-destruct right about here, as it's still... Nope, it's definitely dropped the last piece of TNT. I think maybe the TNT got an update. I can see the coral fan is broken. Oh well, but that is the method to our madness here, folks. That is what we're going to be doing to this nether fortress bit by bit over the next little while, and probably on a couple of live streams as well. I'm going to be taking down the entire nether fortress here using TNT duplication and probably a little bit of good old-fashioned elbow grease with a pickaxe, but I think we're going to do the majority of it in an automated way if we possibly can. It's just going to make reducing this thing down to a scrap of rubble a whole bunch easier, and that is going to mean that our wither skeleton farm becomes a whole lot more efficient. To wrap up this episode, I feel like doing a bit of a cinematic segment for this, because what is more cinematic than a bunch of TNT explosions all happening in quick succession? I think that's going to look pretty cool. So we're going to go to a cinematic. I'm going to record a little bit of stuff with the replay mod. I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so maybe that got away from me a little bit, and maybe it turns out reversing a flying machine is something that I should get a little bit of practice in, and maybe it also turned out that TNT duplication is a little bit more destructive than I gave it credit for early on in the episode, but I think it's a good road test, and unfortunately I don't really have time to do much more than that today, because this is going to be a very long and time-consuming process, and this is a huge fortress to be taking down. It is almost, I would argue, not worth the effort doing it, but I just want to do it anyway. I really want to have a super cool wither skeleton farm, and only a wither skeleton farm. Some people did point out, of course, there are mob farms that rely on nether fortress mobs, which are actually able to get you all of the fortress mob drops in a single farm, but I'm really just after the wither skeletons, and there's a very good reason for that, because there is also a way that we can guarantee to get a wither skeleton skull to drop with every wither skeleton that we kill, and that is by taking them to the overworld and blowing them up using charged creepers, which is something I really, really want to do, because the satisfaction of getting a 100% drop rate on wither skeleton skulls after spending hours upon hours farming these guys for nothing is actually going to be really, really worthwhile. So I think that is ultimately, the goal we are working towards here, the goal we're working towards is having a wither skeleton farm that we can also divert into the overworld to blow them up with charged creepers, and we'll build some sort of charged creeper farm where the equivalent of these coordinates is in the overworld. In the fullness of time, of course, which, yes, I know is one of my catchphrases because we do a lot of stuff gradually in this series, but that's the way survival Minecraft works at the end of the day. And that's going to be it for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at TNT Duplication, because trust me, it is going to come up a lot more in the rest of this series. We have some stuff that we want to duplicate TNT for, my friends. Oh yes, we do, and we're going to see that in future episodes, I'm sure. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.